And I'm going to start off today with just going through 3 of my favourite yoga poses of all time almost. One of them included is going to be one of the ones I don't do, and I'm sure you've all seen that Instagram post where it's like, the yoga pose you avoid the most is the one you need the most, okay? The one I avoid the most probably is the one I need the most, but it feels like the most confrontational. We'll get into all of that information later. For this, all you're going to need is floor space, strap of some kind. I've got a yoga strap just here, which is already de-looped, or I've even got a pull-up assist, elasticated, potentially a bolster, one of these. It looks like this, like a long sausage. So you can sit on that, or like what we're going to do later, I'll show you, or you can just use any old pillow. Just a pillow just to sit on, basically. So I'll show you now. Just to talk to you guys, I'm going to sit on this pillow. So I've chosen these 3 poses because of their deeply profound healing benefits that have worked for me over time, being a yoga teacher and also being a person who has lived with back pain for a really, really long time. Think of this as a way of undoing your tension patterns. So the way we sit, the way we walk, all of these little details add up to how your body mechanics work. And when I come into these particular poses, I always find that I'm undoing my default in terms of movement. So we want to make sure that we're always changing the body patterns. If you think about it from a more esoteric or spiritual angle, these poses have very good effects in terms of bringing down the nervous system and also bringing you back into a more grounded space. They are all very low to the floor, so they have this grounding quality, and one of the poses is extremely grounding. It's one of the most grounding poses, and for me is the pose of all. So without further ado, let's get into it and I will show you the 3 poses I love. Let's do it. Number 1. Here we are. Malou Sauna, or deep squat. Deep low squat. Now, a lot of the time, a lot of us will be like this with the heels. The heels will be up, away from the floor, and that's okay as well. So just being kind of intuitive to what your body is and where it's at. So you need to listen. If this is where you're at, this is okay. We've got adjustments to use to make this pose more accessible. Now, the aim is to get the heels down and bum down to the floor, nice long spine. So if you think that you want to just rest down here, look at the deep C shape I'm creating in my spine. Yes, it's giving me traction and space, but I want the uplift. Okay, so I want that nice tall lift in the crown, and I want the lower back reaching to the floor. If you see, with 2 different directions of my spine, one going up, one going down. So the low back here gets a really nice chance to release to the floor. Or you want the knees coming inwards, elbows going outwards. This is a really nice reference to what in yoga is called the midline. Midline. Cue some bells. Okay, so the midline is, feel the action, hug the knees in, press the elbows out. The upper body gets this chance to lift up and out of the pit of the belly. So you're going upwards and reaching upwards. Shoulders are down the back, chin is slightly into the chest. Knees push in, elbows push out, and I elongate up. Did you see the growth in the spine? That's the sensation you want to create, okay? If you do find it difficult with the heels up, all you're going to do is create a little stand for your heels to rest on, either with a book, a block, or even a cushion as I am. A cushion can just help take out the intensity, and you can almost rest your bum down. If the heel stand doesn't work for you, then you've always got the option of creating a little perch for your bum to sit on here like that. So it's almost like you're just sitting on the floor. So Malou Sauna is the pose that I was talking about at the beginning. That is the most super grounding pose. It's really helpful for the digestive system because everything is sinking downwards. So this process of elimination, the downward energy is always reaching towards the ground in that pose. And as I was saying, the sacral chakra is Number 2. Paschimottanasana, which is intense stretch to the west, or as we know it, forward fold. Now this is where you'll want your band, your strap, your belt, your tie, piece of string, whatever really works for you, okay? So without any props, just check out my positioning. Can you see my back? It's slightly rounded a little bit. That's because I'm just slumping in the pose. Shoulders are forward, there's not really much going on, okay? Now if I take a moment here to get my hands under my butt cheeks, pull them back and apart. That's going to help to lift me up a little bit more. As you can see, it's starting to straighten out. Now you're going to breathe in, lift into the chest. And then from here we create the height. Now this is the pose in itself. This is enough. Some of us find it really challenging to start to fold, and this is going to be your entry level to forward fold. So you're lifting out the pit of the belly, right in that navel area I was talking about previous pose. Sacral chakra, lift up, pull in and lift from the chest. From here we stay lifted and work with grounding down the hips into the floor. Okay, grab your band if you wish. Loop it around the feet, hold and lift the chest, shoulders down the back. Do you see the length I have created in the spine? That's the focus. Always with the heart going forward to the front of the room or the toes. So we lift. And then from there we take the shoulders down the back and start to fold. This is why I like the resistance band. I'm pulling on it to get the elastication. That way I can let the rubber bands go loose in my hand and then it pulls me forward ever so slightly. So it's like a self-assist. If you've got the strap, fine, just use the strap wisely, but keep the elbows in, don't shrug down. Lifting into the chest, okay? Now, for some of us, if you don't have props, bend the knees. What the knees bent does, it takes the slack out of the low back and you're able to lift the low back up, and then from here you can fold over the legs. Forward fold is one of the most confrontational poses I have ever come across, okay? It's intensely relaxing, but also intensely activating for the mind. If you think that when we do vinyasa flow or anything like this, our mind is already preoccupied with movement, and that's okay and that helps. And then once we come to sit, it becomes very difficult to calm all of that back down. So forward fold intensifies it. And if you look at the anatomy of the stretch, think about the organs that rest along this band of the low back. It's the adrenal glands and the kidneys. The adrenal glands being our hormone center for stress, cortisol. So a lot of us live with chronic low stress, and that area getting this opportunity to stretch out can be cleansing. And as a part of cleansing, we have to detoxify and remove what is already in there. I always tend to remind my clients that when I am teaching, if you have gone too far into a pose and you cannot breathe, you're in too deep and you need to pull back. Always pulling back is necessary to give yourself that space. Imagine here is 100 miles an hour and you're there. There's nowhere else to go. Pull back 80 miles and you've got that little space of wiggling out. Does this work for me? Do I like this? Am I in pain or am I stretching? If I am in pain, I'm gonna stay here. So this is my boundary today and I'm okay with that, but I've still got room to grow over time if I want to. And finally, pose number 3. So for this pose, you don't necessarily need a prop, but I really like to add the prop in just to make it more passive. And we're doing bridge with the block. We're gonna come to our knees bent, low back on the floor, just resting with the head down, okay? Shoulders are pinned down, and from here we're gonna take our block, lift the hips, and place the hips down on the block, all right? Oh, and immediately it just feels like heaven. Not much going on here, but if you look at the area of the sacrum, I'm gonna roll up my t-shirt so you can see, there's a little arch in the back there, all right? And what that does is, if you imagine the hips up here are resting on the block, and the spine now has this opportunity to descend down towards my upper chest, that creates this sense of traction, which is lengthening the discs away from each other. Now think about it this way, you've got 3 levels on the block. You can lift up a little bit higher, rest the hips down on there. Or you've even got the highest level. I tend to prefer the lower 2, they're much nicer on the back. This is still nice, but this is way more back bend and this would come over time. Come on, 1, 2, 3. Alright, no, we're not doing that. I absolutely adore this pose. Bridge pose also helps with the lungs. If you imagine the chin and chest are connected during this pose, we get this grand opportunity to look towards the navel as we're in the pose, like so. So if you imagine the hips are lifted, you can look at the belly button and watch your belly breathe. This way we engage the diaphragm, so we have a better opportunity to take more oxygen down into the lower, deeper alveoli of the lungs. I hope they find their way into a daily routine of yours, or you use them periodically to help you with your pain. The number 1 is the deep low squat. I have to say, it's the pose of all poses for me. It just done so much. That's from me today. I really enjoyed filming this, and As always guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, subscribe. If you liked the video, press the thumbs up. And if you want any more content from me, just keep watching. And hopefully I will see you soon. Thank you so much, and namaste.